we didn't ask some really
Key.
pertinent questions,
Yep.
like about faith. Even though we both had Christian backgrounds,
Yeah.
we didn't talk about our individual walks. We didn't talk about expectations with that
No.
either.
No.
What else did we talk about?
Our upbringing.
Upbringings. Didn't talk
Yeah.
about that. Didn't talk about our dad situations, which
Yep.
were very similar and
Yep.
very, very different.
At the same time.
We didn't talk about finances. We didn't talk about
Roles and responsibility.
So you wanted to talk about our story, how we met. And the thing that's more interesting is the name of the place where we met.
Very interesting.
And so that's what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about the name of the place where we met and how
it has some significance
in a lot of ways.
It's kind of an oxymoron, I think is the right phrase.
It
the
could
right word.
be used as an oxymoron, yes.
Okay. So tell the people, I'll let you tell the story on how we met, where we were first, which is the main thing, and some background on that, and how it's an oxymoron.
So I'm talking to you. So let's talk about it anyway.
Okay, come on.
Anyway, so we on one Thursday night, long ago, we met at a club, like many people do, and the significance of that is that our story is not as holy as it may, as some people's is. But the piece about that story is that we were both just there each with a friend of ours, individually. So we didn't know each other, obviously. And the place was called Club Amnesia. Club Amnesia.
Yes, it was.
And so I think that is the funny. I mean, there's a lot of funny pieces about the story. Like, I was dressed very casual.
Yep.
So I didn't do club clothes, as you know, as some people would say, like dressing up and all that. I had on jeans and some tennis shoes, I think, and an oversized men's suit coat.
She hardly had on any makeup at all.
I had on no makeup because I didn't wear any, and maybe some mascara.
No false eyelashes.
Well, that wasn't in then.
That was in.
And I didn't. No, you didn't. It was not in.
It was.
And my hair was pulled back in a bun, like plain.
Jane.
It was just get out. I had earrings on, t-shirt. I mean, it was just very casual. So, when you talk about remembering me or making an entrance into somebody's life, it wasn't
no grand interest.
There was nothing was revealing. And not that I didn't like to dress cute. It just, that was not the day of that. I think the other significant thing about that is,
well, it wasn't my intent either. So we were just going out, me and my friend. So the intent wasn't trying to go out, look fancy, and find a lady and look appetizing to her with what I was wearing. It was just a basic day going out, maybe have a couple of drinks, hanging out. We had nothing else to do.
Right.
Kind of event.
Thursday.
It was a Thursday.
It was a Thursday.
Yeah.
Thursday. No.
Thursday.
The other thing about that is we didn't really hit it off.
No.
There was some head-butting resistance. There was a little conflict actually in our personalities. Not that we got in an argument. It just wasn't like we danced. We had danced. So let me say that. So he walked me to my car surprisingly. Like he didn't say, "Hey, can I walk you to your car?" He just walked me to, like, he
Yeah.
was
I
just
walked
there.
up on her. I pulled up on her, and you see, like, what you doing? I said, well, I'm gonna walk you to your car.
Yeah.
You know, it was kind of dark out. I'm trying to be a
No,
gentleman.
no. Don't. That wasn't what it was.
I was trying to be a gentleman.
No, that wasn't what it was.
Because it ain't like we had a whole lot of fireworks.
That wasn't what it was.
What was
Gentlemanly?
it?
No, you
Yes.
just want to get my number. This is laying out flat.
But I'm still being a gentleman at the same time.
That wasn't what it was. You just wanted my number. Anyway,
counted less than.
look at this perception. Okay, so he's there. As I'm walking to the door, I did say, "Where are you going?" He said, "Well, I was gonna walk you to your car." So we didn't have this whole like, "Hey, my name is Rodney. My name is Joy. Can we exchange?" There was none of that, even on the dance floor. And then he walks to the car, and our friends were having a conversation on the other side of the car. And then he says, "Can I get your number?" So he asked me for the number, and I was in another friend's vehicle. I don't know why I wasn't in my own car, but I wasn't. And I went in the vehicle. I was like, sure, not a big deal. Went in there to get paper and a pen, and there was no pen. I did not have a pen, and I don't even know if I had my purse that day. There was no pen at all in the car.
You had a bag.
So there was no pen. So when I got up to say and said, I have paper, but I don't have a pen, because you have to think this is 1991. No cell phones like we use them today.
We had beepers.
We had beeper pagers and things like that. And, very few people had cell phones, or they didn't have a cell phone plan like we do now. So with all this unlimited usage. And so pen and paper was the way. And, or on your hand. But I didn't have a pen either way. And he gave me the look like, you're lying.
It's like, I know you got a pen somewhere. Said, don't even play.
I don't have a pen.
Don't play.
And we went kind of back and forth with this whole little, you got a pen, I don't have a pen. And then he said, well, I have a pen in my car, but it's all the way
across the
parking lot, and I'm not walking over there. And I said, well, I guess you don't want my number. And we both did like this. Yep. And that was the end of the conversation.
Amnesia set in.
We was fine.
Quick. We forgot all about each other pretty quick.
We were fine. And I want to say about 2 weeks later, my friend, who was also my roommate, said, hey, those guys we met at the club, or the guy I met at the club, is going to come over. And I said, oh, okay. Yep. Well, when I opened the door, when the guy came over,
the batting of the eyes.
Mr. Sir was there again, coming up behind, not being.
Well, it wasn't behind, really. It was too big to be behind.
Coming behind.
Yeah.
Invading the space.
I showed up uninvited.
Right? Yeah. Again, and I said, "What are you doing here?" And he said, "Well, my boy was coming over, so I thought I'd come too."
Yeah, I want to see her.
And we both had an air about. I'm not even gonna say we didn't. I say we.
Yep.
Had an air about ourselves. So he has another air, and it was intriguing. But it was like, oh, okay. So they came in, and over the course of time, we continued to talk. Yeah. Those two did not, and. Here we are 30 and a half years later. Yep. Okay, so, but let's go back to it's the amnesia part that I think is the funniest.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because, and I don't have the thesaurus in front of me. Amnesia's definition, I mean, when you look it up in the dictionary, is like forgetfulness, right?
Yeah.
When you don't remember something, when, people have, like Alzheimer's now, and they forget. Amnesia, people usually hit your head on something.
Yeah.
There's an accident. There is a cause and effect.
Lose consciousness.
Right.
Yeah, because of an activity, and you forget, or you don't remember.
Exactly. So none of that happened. Like, there was nothing that struck either one of us physically to remember the other person, yet
Mm-hmm.
the impression
Mm-hmm.
actually we both had on each other. I
Yeah.
mean, because obviously when he came to the door,
She didn't say
I didn't
nah.
say I don't know who you are. I
Yeah.
mean, I didn't do that.
Yeah.
And me, the pushback in the parking lot was kind of intriguing to you,
Yeah.
apparently,
Yeah.
because
She was.
he showed up at my
Yeah.
house.
She was somewhat pleasing to the eye.
So,
So
that's really, really funny to me that that is a part of our story.
Yeah.
And not only is it a part of how we started, but it is a part of our marriage.
Yeah. A part of our walk along the way.
And I also, the thing about amnesia, and one of the definitions is about like when you should remember something that you forget, like that you should ask about.
Mm-hmm.
There's selective amnesia,
Yeah.
right? There's also remember like I should go back and talk to you about something.
Yeah.
And I don't. So then
Yeah.
there's another level of amnesia. Let me say it that way. And so I think that's still a part of our story.
Yeah.
Right.
Most definitely.
Because even though we talked a lot before we got married, long hours to the wee hours of the morning, we didn't ask some really key pertinent questions like about even though we both had Christian backgrounds, we didn't talk about our individual walks. We didn't talk about expectations with that either.
No.
What else did we talk about?
Our upbringings.
Didn't talk about that. Didn't talk about our dad situations, which were very similar and very, very different
at the same time.
We didn't talk about finances. We didn't talk about
roles and responsibilities.
We didn't talk about potential changes that could happen before we got married. And we didn't talk about we didn't talk about boundaries. We just kind of assumed some boundaries, and then some other boundaries got broken. And then there we were in a parenting situation. And so and all of those things that we didn't talk about have shown up over the years as situations.
Like you said, some of those things we had chose to forget or not bring back into remembrance, which in some parts is good, in some parts is bad.
Right.
Because there's memories in our life, our upbringing, that may not have been shared in the beginning, that came out later, that caused us to have conversations, a relationship where we had to focus on the other person and things of that nature, which made it stronger because we forgot, because our amnesia allowed that to happen. And there's, struggles we had too. I think in year 7, we were struggling
with communication
about pretty bad.
We didn't talk about it.
And it was about basically our amnesia, that things we didn't talk about or bring up that we needed to talk about.
So in there so some people will ask us questions like, tell us what it was like when this happened, and we have some amnesia. So you have to people have to ask me another question or give me a scenario, and then I can say, oh, this is what happened, this is what it looked like, and this is what happened. No matter what it was. I think the good part about the amnesia was it was a symbol of grace. It allowed us to move away from things that were not very important, that a lot of people they fight over, they linger on, and have gotten divorced. And that, to me, I'm like, why would you get divorced about that? Because that happens in every marriage. Every marriage has communication issues, conflict, probably a money problem or some kind of financial something.
Angst.
Angst. That's a good word. If you have children, you're always going to have a thing. Because children require a lot. Job changes,
employment is a big deal.
I mean, there's moving multiple times. There's so many things that have happened that Yes, they happened in our marriage. And people think that we didn't, I think some people think we didn't have any arguments. But if you know either one of us individually,
Yeah,
then you know we had some
we're
arguments.
pretty strong
Yeah,
characters, each
yeah,
of
yeah,
us.
right.
She's the firstborn,
And he's not.
and I'm not, but I'm not a follower.
Correct.
So
And neither am I.
exactly. So
So,
sometimes
yeah.
in my job in playing sports led me to have to be a leader. So sometimes following is hard. Well, it used to be hard. It's not as hard anymore, but it used to be hard. So that was a thing. Who's going to be in charge? Sometimes,
Yeah.
who's right and who's wrong. Not
Who's gonna give in? Who's gonna say I'm sorry? Who's gonna ask for forgiveness?
Yeah.
Who's gonna let it slide?
Show grace.
Show a lot of grace
and
have mercy.
Amnesia.
See, this is no mercy. He no mercy, and I'm like, help.
And having amnesia over the little things that really don't matter.
Right.
Just having grace and not trying to remember things that don't matter. Not being what they call a history major. A history major is somebody who remembers all these little things. And then when it comes time to explode or when we get into it, I would bring up these things. Well, we didn't do a lot of that in our relationship. We weren't history majors where we used that a little bit, but not to fight.
Yeah, not to fight. I think it also, amnesia was how, like, when I look back over 30 years, all I still mostly remember is laughter.
Okay.
And we probably laughed at some things that weren't really that funny.
It shouldn't have been.
Right, or shouldn't have been laughter that day. Or maybe there were days where there weren't. I'm sure there were days where there weren't laughter. I know. I'm sure that there were days. There were days where we weren't laughing.
Yeah.
But I don't remember all of those days.
Yeah.
And so I'm grateful that amnesia saved our marriage. I'm grateful for grace. I'm grateful that we got planted in the church early on, even though it was a huge angst in our marriage.
Yep.
And we both submitted to that.
Yep.
That need that we didn't even know that we got rid of, that we were able to have amnesia about how we grew up in a way, like we were willing to say all of that is trash.
That somebody did
all
this,
of it,
somebody did that.
However we did it was trash. Now let's go and pick up the things in the box. Okay, that's good out of the box, and this is good out of the box, but the rest of that is trash, so that we could learn each other and see what it was like. What is it going to be like to be married to you and you married to me, despite all the stuff? I think that.
So learning what I could do to edify her and make her feel more important, or make her feel precious, and make her feel wanted, make her feel secure. Yeah. So if you know anything about women, security is a big deal. So what can I do to make her feel loved? So forget about what I didn't see my father do. So I had amnesia on the things that my father did not do for my mom, so to speak. And I said, I'm not going to be like that. So put that to the side and figure out a way to love her differently, and figure out a way to talk to her differently, figure out a way to grow with her differently, even through the bad times. Let's figure out a way to grow together. And that, I think, was very important, to forget about the past and things that didn't work my early childhood and not carry that along in a sack. And then when we get married, open the sack and say, I got these issues. You gonna fix them with me?
Yeah, I think that was the other thing, is we didn't blame our past on what we didn't have. We acknowledged it, like we didn't have dads growing up. Neither one of us. And I mean, we had fathers and interactions with dads at different levels, but we didn't have father figures. Like, I didn't have a father to show me what it was like to nurture a woman in there. You didn't either. And so, but you didn't say, well, because my daddy wasn't there, I don't know how to do any of this. And I didn't have a daddy, so you gotta love. I don't know what that's like. So it allowed you to discover, and then discover me and love me that way. And even though we have really strong moms because they had to be there. They were caring. Each of them were caring for 2 children.
Yep.
I didn't come in. I mean, we both come in with baggage. Like, this is my interpretation of what a woman should do. And then we were like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. I love this part of it. But yet, how does that look underneath a husband?
Yeah.
And still be a strong woman, a Christian woman, who grew up with all these ideologies. And so there was a lot, but Amnesia saved our, I mean, it really did. And I know when y'all saw that post, a lot of y'all are like, why would anybody say that? Because it did.
Because it did.
It did.
It did.
It did.
It's
silly, but
it's almost, let me say this. It's almost like sometimes you see women or young ladies now who are independent. And I got this from somebody else. And it's like throwing a ball against the wall and it just comes back to you when you're independent. But when you're in a relationship and you throw that ball against the wall and it's the other person on that side and they catch it, you have to be prepared that they're not going to throw that ball right back to you and it be perfect.
Yeah.
So sometimes the independence leads to thinking it's perfect or you perfect. But when that other person catch it and they about to throw it back and say, well, you got an attitude.
Or they might roll it.
They might roll it back.
They might do a little bouncy. They might throw it hard. They might throw it too soft. Because they might not know how to throw it.
So your independence has taken over your thinking. When you get with somebody else, they're going to do it a different way. So you have to learn how to adjust to how they respond or how they're going to throw the ball back and not have an attitude or not have a feeling about them and accept them the way they are, because God made people how? Fearfully and wonderfully made.
Yeah.
So we're made to be different.
Right.
So we have to understand we're made to be different. And God made us that way, and then figure out how to work around that and accept my differences and me accept her differences.
So that we can become one. Like that's the whole thing.
That's the whole thing.
And I'm not me without you.
So simple as that.
I'm not. I came in with my greatness, and my greatness is even greater. And the stuff that I thought was great wasn't as great as it could have been without you.
I appreciate it.
And we are with that whole we better together.
Yeah,
we better together.
We're definitely a team
for sure. So I appreciate the amnesia. I'm grateful. To me, only God could have put that way. And this is not to justify going to meet your future person in the club. It's just a part of our story.
Yeah.
But the part of the story is the name of the place.
Yeah.
It's not, I met my man at the club. And no shame, because I would not be who I am if I hadn't been at Club Amnesia one Thursday in April 1991.
Yeah, that part.
So I think that's good.
So that's how amnesia
saved our marriage.
So you know what? Subscribe. Tell somebody about us. Come back and check out the next time we make a video. We'll be talking about all these good, wonderful things about marriage and some things we needed to work on and that you may need to work on.
All right. We'll see y'all later.